Okay, Assalamu alaikum, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Good morning to you all. My name is Ashok Garlapati from HSE E&D Team. My colleagues, Mr. Sampath Reddy, Safety Specialist, as well as Mr. Ved Prakash Mishra, Environment Specialist, joined with me for this session today, which is exclusive awareness session on KOC contractor welfare and occupational health and medical surveillance procedure. One thing I want to tell you that you would have got a calendar message as a KOC contractor welfare procedure only, but we are also giving 1-to-1 free. Another procedure also we have added. So you'll be getting a outline of these two very important procedures, So that's what we just want to highlight today. So our agenda is going to be like this: introduction, opening remarks by our team leader, HSE movement, and we have two sessions. One is KOC contractor welfare procedure. Then, of course, we'll have a little break, and after that, we'll have another important procedure, which is occupational health and medical surveillance procedure. Then we will open it for the discussions. So we will open it for the discussions. Then I see that there are 55 plus people are around the call. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the MS Teams, but anyway, I just want to brief you basically about the functions of the platform. So basically, this particular button is used to turn off the camera, and this one is used to keep your microphone on the mute and unmute. We recommend you to mute all the participants when you want to open any discussion or the message. You can always keep it open, and you can also raise the hand if you want to ask the questions. Then we have a chat box also. You can always continue using the chat box. Basically, if you have any clarifications or anything, please use the chat box so that we can cover all those questions at the end. And we have another important button. How many people are attending this call, whether your friends or something like that, you can always find out and network with the people. So that's what is our introductory instructions on the call. Another important thing I just want to tell you on behalf of our team leader, just for the information to everybody, Mr. Fahad Al-Daman, he got transferred to another team in KOC, and the new team leader for us is Mr. Marjouk Al-Wathaibi. Is reporting to duty on Sunday, coming Sunday, and our acting team leader is Mr. Abdul Wahab Al-Ragdan. So he was very much interested in hosting this particular session, considering the welfare as well as the periodic medical examinations requirements. So probably he'll be joining shortly, but he was very much particular in hosting this session today for all of our business partners. And as you know that we'll be having a HSE movement for every occasion in KOC. I'm sure in the business partners meetings also. So we would like to show another important HSE movement today, which is today is 18th March 2021, and all over the world it is observed as a Global Recycling Day. As a HSE professionals, we should be really interested to know more about this particular Global Recycling Day. Even HSE North Kuwait, they are having a program around 12 o'clock today, and anybody interested, they can always attend it. Basically, the purpose of the mission of the Global Recycling Day is to tell world leaders that recycling is simply too important to not to be a global issue, and a common giant approach urgently needed to correct people's perception across the planet to think of recycling as a resource and not a waste. Absolutely correct. And to award recycled goods their true values and purpose, that which they deserve. So always consider recycling as an opportunity gained, don't waste it. Even in our D&T directorate, whatever waste we generate from the drilling operations, we have a OBM cuttings treatment plant. We recycle the recovered diesel. So there is a good example for that in our directorate itself. And I encourage all of you to share the best practices through the Green Book, which we launched recently. Of course, if anybody wants to know more about the Green Book initiative, please leave your message in the chat box so that we will send you that information. So again, the Global Recycling Day is an initiative of the Global Recycling Foundation movement that recognizes the importance of recycling as a resource and not a waste. The theme for the 2021 year today's Global Recycling Day theme is recognizing recycling as an essential industry. So that's very important to know, gentlemen and ladies. So today is Global Recycling Day. Please do your best efforts in line with the mission of this particular day. And as I mentioned in the meeting, in the introductory remarks, we have two sessions. One is going to talk about the contractor welfare procedures. This particular procedure has been launched or updated recently, and of course the KOC Postmaster has been released on the 1st March 2021. Basically, the procedure number is KOC HE 25, Contractor Welfare Procedure. We are going to talk in detail what is the purpose of the purpose and scope of this procedure, what are the responsibilities of the KOC Superintendent of Contracts, what are the responsibilities of the KOC business partners, what I mean is that contractors, and everything we are going into detail. And that's what is, this is the one good mechanism we have in KOC to communicate about the new procedures or the updates of the existing procedures through the KOC Postmaster. Okay, this is internal mechanism. At the same time, we do have another mechanism, external mechanism, basically on the communication of the new procedures and updates to all our business partners. This goes on the quarterly basis, and what you are seeing on the screen is the Q2 and Q3 also we have circulated. On the right side, you see on 5th January 2021, we circulated to all the business partners. About 17 procedures have been updated during the last quarter, and our senior engineer, Mr. Chari, is responsible for this. Again, if you are not getting these updates, please put your message, your email ID in the chat box. You will be continuing to receive those updates as well in the future. Okay, this is the external mechanism. And today I have with me Mr. Ved Prakash Mishra. He will be talking, and he and I will be exchanging or talking about the welfare procedure one by one. So that's what we are going to see now as a session 1. Then we will have a session 2 about the PME procedure. So first we will go with the session 1, and I'm going to open the procedure directly. So we will go through the each class by class. Again, you have any clarifications, please raise your hand. You can always ask the questions. Mr. Madni from Development Dealing Group 1 raise the hand. Please go ahead, Mr. Madni. You want to say anything?
I just want to share just one information that Development Drilling Group 1 is also celebrating Recycling Day, and right now as we speak we have got celebration or basically campaign going on REC KDC 53 and SP 910 in North Kuwait, and in Southeast Kuwait on REC SP 187. So other than this NK Directorate, in our directorate also we are having this ongoing.
Excellent information. In fact, I received this email, but I wanted to share at the end of our session, but thanks for sharing this information, Mr. Madani. So with that, I want to open the procedure directly on the screen, and Mr. Ved Prakash Mishra is going to be talking about the procedure. We both will be exchanging the information, and this is the one which you are seeing on the screen, KOC Contractor Welfare Procedure. Mr. Ved Prakash, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Ashok, and good morning to everyone. And once again, welcome you all for this session, which is very, very important session where we are just getting together, being aware of this procedure and the changes which occurred recently. So as Mr. Ashok mentioned, this procedure has come as a KOC HE 025, which is the Contractor Welfare Procedure. And recently it was updated. You can see the date, 14th of February, Valentine Day. We can remember like that. So In 2021, it got revised. And there was a reason why it got revised, because you can see in the purpose itself, now something new have been added, which is the internationally recommended practices. I'll just go through it. So the purpose of this procedure is very clear here. This is applicable to all the contractors, subcontractor, and secondment employees. And also we have to notice here in this scope actually that any contractor or suppliers, vendors which are just involved in the studies or assessment, they are excluded from this. But most of our contractor business partners, they're involved in the hardcore business, so definitely it's applicable to all of us. And it is mentioned here the primary objective of this procedure is to identify and implement relevant welfare measures as per applicable statutory obligations of the state of Kuwait. And now the change which occurred recently is because of this, which is here mentioned here. International Finance Corporation's Performance Standard 2, 2012. So there's a recommended practices 102, which is welfare facilities recommendations of ILO, International Labour Organizations. And this is the IFC, which is the World Bank groups, and they have the 8 performance standards. You can just go a little down, sir, in this one. Just a little down. Yeah. Yes. So here we can see there are 8 performance standards are there. And the second one specifically talks about the labor and working conditions. And then we have resource efficiency, community health, safety, and cultural heritage, indigenous people. So now these things have been added, which was not there earlier. And the reason for this addition, because it has come from KPC to all the K companies, because nowadays KPC is going for the external financing. And some of you might be aware who are present in on this call, especially the people who are from SAIPEM. Few projects in KOC also have been chosen for that, the pipeline and the SAIPEM rigs, where KPC is approaching for the external finance. And when we go for the external finance, there is a very vigorous due diligence is being conducted by the World Bank appointed or the bank appointed consultant. And in our case, it's a ROMBOL, and this is a standard given by them. So we have to make sure that it has been built in our procedure and also has been implemented at ground level. And that is why we can see that this recent change happened because of this urgent requirement of this standard from IFC. Yes, we'll go back to the procedure, please.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Okay.
So, so this is standard outline of the procedure. Like we have the purpose scope, then we have standard definitions, and most of you are aware of these definitions. Accommodations, drinking water, contract, and all this informations. And then counseling, and then we have the even Employee Assistance Program, EAPS. This is for employee-sponsored benefit programs. This is apart from, and we can see in the purpose itself mentioned that this is apart from the normal work. Mentioned here, that work in healthy, congenial surroundings, conducive to good health and high morale. And definitely after having this pandemic, this process is going to be very, very vital actually to ensuring the morale of the employees in the field. So these are the standard definitions have been added from the ILO, from IFC, and our other procedures. Then we'll go to the next section, please.
1 minute, Mr. Okay.
Yeah, we can go to the next section, number 3.
Yes.
So these are the requirements on which this procedure has been built up. So we can see here, these are the HSE requirements element number 10, which is the contractor and vendor management. And then we have added all this guidelines for contractor, the occupational health, and the law of labor in the private sector, which is the prevailing law in the country, and the KPC standard on contractor and vendor management. And in the defense section, we'll see that how even the IFC also have been added here. So all the requirements here from the state law will be also added here. So this is coming from the KPC as well as the state requirement. Now, after that, we have the responsibilities, and you can see it's added now International Finance Corporation, the last one. So this is the new addition, which is added here.
Yes, Mr. Team leader was here. Okay. Anything you want me to continue?
Yeah, so the fourth is the responsibility. Yeah, if you want, sir, you can continue, please.
No, it's okay, Mr. Thank you for briefing on the purpose and scope of the procedure. As every procedure has a document control, documents, we have responsibilities for all the relevant groups. One is mainly for the HSE group. Basically, the first bullet point is talking about the pre-qualification. That means when any business partner wants to do some jobs, they have to be pre-qualified, and contractor welfare is one of the key requirements for that. So I just want to inform that contractor welfare is one of the key points where all the business partners will be evaluated and weighed their performance, their ability. So again, the commercial support group as well as the legal affairs group, superintendent of contract is the one whom you are coordinating every day. So they will be responsible for the project HSE plan where the welfare measures are incorporated, and monitoring and ensuring the contractor adherence to all the relevant applicable employee welfare requirements. And another important thing which you are seeing is that biannual audits will be conducted by the respective superintendent of contracts. There is a checklist which we are going to show you also, that ensure contractor employee benefits are provided by the respective contractors. They will be tracking closely on that as per the Kuwait labor laws, and to ensure contractors prepare and implement corrective action plan based on the recommendations of the audits and inspections, whatever it is. The next responsibility is related to our HSE teams, like our team. Basically, we'll be doing the inspection and surveys. In fact, if you recall, we have our rotational supervisors serve as the inspection engineers. They are coming to the rigs, and if you see our checklist, one of the item is related to the welfare measures. So all those things will be done by the HSE teams like us. And this is a corporate health and environment team. Basically, they'll be focusing on establishing the process and procedures, which is related to the welfare procedure. All those things they'll be looking at the big picture from the procedural aspect, and they'll be providing the guidance and support for conducting the HSE audits. And sometimes they'll be part of the audit team also doing the welfare audits, and also creating awareness among all contractors and other things. Another important thing which I am going to cover is the contractors and subcontractors. Gentlemen, you see here, it is not only the contractors, including the subcontractors. So they need to establish, because as a KOC, we are offloading the job. And as a contractor, you're also offloading to subcontractors and subcontractors. So all those people should be establishing the welfare mechanisms, and accountable for the contractors and subcontractors' performance with regard to the requirements of this procedure. As a key main contractor, you are responsible for your subcontractors' performance also, and you need to incorporate all these welfare measures in the project HSE plan or the contractor HSE plan, and develop initiatives and implement support programs to create conducive and respectable workplace and good working relationship between the contractor and employees and their supervisors. Good working relationship means there should not be any workplace violence. In the recent past, we keep getting calls from the rig camps that there is a workplace violence issue. Then security people will be involved. Then it will go beyond the KOC to handle with the police and other things. So we need to be very, very careful to have a working good relationship between the employees as well as the supervisors. Ensure all benefits are provided to employees as per Kuwait labor laws, and establish a mechanism for identification, management, and follow-up of mental health disorders. This is very, very important thing. Again, this came from the performance standard, IFC performance standard. Basically, we had some suicide cases also. So that has to be avoided. That has to be avoided by properly identifying management as well as a follow-up on mental health disorders. And to obtain approval of KOC regarding dismissal or relocation of key personnel in the contract, that is also one of the requirements. So that's about the responsibilities related to the contractors and subcontractors. We do have a manpower Kuwaitization team. Every contractor has got some key responsibilities to appoint Kuwaiti employees, there are some special guidelines for that. You need to refer to the bylaws of the Kuwaitization things, you know. So those are the major responsibilities. And procedures is, of course, HR procedures. All contractors shall implement policies and supporting procedures to describe the management of workers. These policies and procedures shall be in accordance with the local laws and regulations. And also, every business partner shall provide workers with the bilingual Arabic and English documented information that is clear and understandable regarding their rights and national labor and employment law, including their rights related to hours of work, wages, overtime, compensation, all the benefits as applicable. And at the same time, not only by the contractor, even the subcontractor should also comply with these requirements. So, Mr. I would like to continue with the 5.2. Okay, working conditions and terms of employment. Contractors shall provide working conditions and terms of employment as per the applicable labor regulations. And migrant workers are identified engaged on equivalent terms and conditions to non-migrant workers carrying out the similar work. So that's another important thing. There should not be any discriminations. That's what it says. And every employment contract should also have the equal opportunity and discriminate in any manner, shall ensure the employment contracts are issued to workers both in English and predominant language of the individual. The employment contract shall comply with all applicable laws and contain as a minimum. Basically, your contract should have the job description, monthly wages, working hours, probation period, leave entitlement, duration of the contract, end of service benefits, and notice period for the termination. And if at all, contractors shall take measures to prevent and address any harassment or exploitation in regards to the women. And contractors shall ensure that workers receive notice of dismissal and applicable final settlements in a timely manner. And necessary documentary evidence shall be submitted to KOC as and when required. And contractors shall issue code of ethics to all project workers, including subcontractors, and inform workers on policies related to discrimination, equal opportunity, and harassment, you know, through induction programs and as well as any you know, toolbox talks and other things. So very, very important, you know. Recruitment process shall ensure the private employment agencies engaged for the recruitment are applicable license from concerned government authority and ministry, not to be recruited from anyone else. They should be approved by the government. The charging for recruitment fees from the worker is completely prohibited, you know, and contractors shall maintain records of all recruitment and make available to KOC Superintendent of Contract whenever it is requested during the audit time. And regarding the wages, all the wages have to be paid as per the Kuwait labor laws and through their bank accounts and not by cash, certainly. And all records have to be maintained whenever KOC is requested. And working hours and rotation policy and rotation rest policy for junior and senior crew shall be as per the workplace hazards and risk assessment. Like drilling is got a different rotation policy and other contractors have got a different weekly offs and other things. So the policy shall be reviewed and documented accordingly. And for Kuwaiti employees, the working hours and overtime regulations for them is as per the clause 1.8 of the separate guidelines for Kuwaitization within company contracts. And for non-Kuwaiti employees, it will be as per the Article 64, 65A, and all those labor laws articles are there. It is available in the public domain, this particular labor law. You can always search Kuwait labor law, you will get it. Same thing, you will get it. And for both Kuwaiti and non-Kuwaiti employees, and each worker has to be paid a weekend, which is equal to 24 continuous working hours. That means 2 days, you know. And financial, commercial, investment sectors, workers shall not be required to work for more than 5 consecutive hours a day without a break of a minimum 1 hour. And a working woman is entitled to remuneration similar to the remuneration of man if she performs the same kind of job. So there should not be any discrimination on the male and female things, you know. And summer working hours shall be as per the ministerial resolution. However, in the case of drilling, there are some special requirements. The breaks also have to be given in case of the drilling rig crew. As regards to the leave provisions, leave have to be provided by the contractors and subcontractors to their employees with respect to the annual leave, compassionate leaves, and patient escort leave, Hajj leave, maternity leave, marriage leave, unpaid leave, emergency and medical sick leave. And for Kuwaiti employees, the leaves have to be as per the separate document. We were talking about that, guidelines for the Kuwaitization. And for non-Kuwaiti employees, there are special leaves applicable. These are the minimum, but if you want to give it more than this, of course, you're welcome to do that. And annual leave, compassionate leave, Hajj leave, maternity leave, and medical and emergency sick leave also has to be there. Contractor shall establish a nursery for children for under 4 years at the place of work where the number of female workers exceed 50 and where the total number of workers exceed 200. So this is also one of the requirement, gentlemen and ladies. And accommodation services. The contractor shall provide accommodation for all personnel in suitable buildings, temporary site porta cabins. There are KOC standards for the site porta cabins. If at all you are not aware of that, you are welcome to get that information from us. And protection against heat, cold, damp, noise, fire, sandstorms, everything have to be provided. And adequate sanitary and washing facilities have to be provided. Adequate natural and artificial lighting has to be provided. Sufficient furniture and electrical appliances. Most important thing is the fire safety have to be provided. You know, we had some electrical fire incidents where the whole cabin has been, damaged in the fire. So we need to be very careful about the fire safety as well. Contractors will provide the basic accommodation services with principles of non-discrimination and equal opportunity should be provided. And these requirements are applicable to all locations in the state of Kuwait, including the residential areas. There are some accommodation in the Mahabula and other areas, so you need to provide same requirements wherever you provide the accommodations. And for employees working without accommodation, the employer shall pay an appropriate accommodation allowance. So that's also one of the things. And regarding the workers' organizations, Kuwaiti workers are allowed to join existing trade unions wherever it is available and applicable, and non-Kuwaiti workers are not permitted to join trade unions, and contractor is not permitted to terminate their contracts for the Kuwaiti workers if they are in the trade unions. And regarding the food hygiene, so another important thing that we do the hygiene inspections by Mr. Bashir Malik. I'm sure everyone knows about that inspections, hygiene inspections. They are very, very exhaustive inspections talking about the storage of the food and handling of the food and the MOH certifications for the food handlers. All these things are covered under the food hygiene, and basically each contractor and subcontractor provide adequate supply of wholesome drinking water and chilled water dispensers at the site of the place, and contractors shall provide the bottled water as a secondary source of drinking water, and hot and cooled water shall be supplied to encourage body cooling, warming in hot, because we are in the hot country, so we need to be more worried about that also. And where the services are part of the service are to be performed within the restricted area, like Ahmadi, Abdullah, Shoba, LPS, because this procedure is for the whole KOC, okay? And drilling rigs and plant facility, the contractor shall make proper arrangements for its employees for transfer of food and to work locations in a hygienic manner. That's what is very important. Even our rotational supervisors check these things when they go to the inspections. And regarding the transportation, of course, free transportation has to be provided by the contractors to their staff, and shall be in contract transportation shall be in vehicles that are safe, reliable, roadworthy. I'm sure every one of you remember April 1, 2018, there was a collision between the two contractor staff buses. Unfortunately, we had 15 people died on the spot because of that particular collision while transporting the crew. So we need to be very, very, very clear about your vehicle safety also. Related to the occupational health and safety, all the contractors shall provide all measures to ensure health, safety, and well-being, and as per the KOC HSE management system. Again, we are going to have a session 2 about the PEME, pre-employment and periodic medical examinations for its employees by a qualified physician. And There are some requirements. Mr. Reddy is going to talk in detail about that related to the PME and HE 007 procedure. The contractor shall provide insurance coverage and bear the cost for treatment and all those things. And contractor shall provide insurance coverage and bear the cost for treatment regarding the any injuries or anything. Everything has to be provided. And for KOC employees, all KOC employees hired by the contractor and subcontractor shall be covered by medical insurance within 30 days from signing their employment contract. Again, this particular guidelines you need to refer related to the KOC employees. In addition to the A mentioned, the contractor shall establish facilities for mechanism for identification of employees with severe mental health disorders and shall establish a procedure for treatment, counseling, and follow-up. Regarding the first aid procedures, again, we have a separate procedure for the first aid and our KOC HE 004. Please do refer that KOC HE 004 related to the first aid procedure. In case you do not have access to it, please leave your message in the chat box. We'll be providing that. Related to the social security for KOC employees, the contractor shall register its KOC employees with the public institution for the social security within 1 month from their appointment, and they should also pay its own contribution portion to the social security and deduct employees' contribution from salary which you are paying to the employees. Regarding the social and child allowance also has to be provided as per the National Manpower Law 19 of 2000 by the contractors. Regarding the uniform, what you call as a PPE, personal protective equipment, every contractor has to provide PPE free of cost to the all the contractor employees, and of course your subcontractor has to provide for their employees. And again, there is a PPE separate procedure. There are approved bonds and other things. Most important thing is that all your PPE has to be approved by the superintendent of contract. That will be checked by the rotational supervisors when they are visiting to the rig site. So that's one of the thing. Another important thing which we are going to brief is the grievances. Grievance means in case your contract employees have got any issues, you need to have a grievance policy in place, and every employee should be aware of the grievances, how they can raise it, how you are going to track it, how you are going to monitoring it. All those things have to be properly tracked, and of course your superintendent of contractors should be aware of such grievances also. Again, the child labor is banned all over the world. So contract shall not employ any worker under the age of 18 years. And again, you need to have a project level policy on the child labor and forced labor, including prohibition of employment of persons under 18 years of age. This is also one of the requirement of the IFC Performance Standard 2. Regarding the forced labor, of course, that is also prohibited in all KOC premises. Another important 5.14, the second bullet, very, very important. Retention of passports of workers is illegal. If at all you are doing that practice, you need to avoid that immediately. And in case of any issues, superintendent of contract can be contacted for such information. And employee assistance programs, which we already talked about the definition. Basically, you need to have a employee assistance programs, basically for workers and their families to address the following issues like substance abuse. Of course, everything is banned in Kuwait, but we need to have a proper support program for the emotional stress and depression, workplace violence issues, major life events, and financial or non-work legal concerns, family personal relationship issues, work relationship issues, and all those things. You need to have a proper employee assistance program. Assessment of mental health workers also one of the issues. You need to have a psychological evaluation of all employees through a qualified psychologist to identify mental health disorders. The contractor shall maintain records of the psychological evaluation, treatment, counseling, and management accordingly in a confidential manner. These are the very, very confidential issues personally related to the employees' private issues. So assistance programs are usually voluntary, organized, and free to the employee and their household members. Okay, there should not be any charges by the employees may be contacted by telephone or in person or internet. Otherwise, confidentiality has to be maintained. To accomplish this, contractor or its subcontractor shall arrange for adequate resources internally or through consultants. Coming to the 5.16, again, another important thing is we also check when we go to the rig camps inspections and other things, the toilets and washing facilities have to be properly provided. All facilities should be properly ventilated. And again, there should be proper housekeeping also. We keep getting some incidents from the toilets, fell down because of the slippery floor and other things. So there should be properly, as a general guide, 1 toilet per 25 workers shall be provided, and rest and changing facilities also have to be provided with the proper hygienic conditions. Adequate, suitable and secure space should be provided, and such facilities should be readily accessible from workrooms and washing and eating facilities. The implementation, all these implementation shall be incorporated in the KOC general terms and conditions. Of course, by default, you are binding by the contract document which you are signing with the KOC. Then you will be incorporating in your HSE plan, as well as it will be monitored through the audits and inspections. Another important thing we are already checked in the responsibilities portion, monitoring compliance with the procedure. Compliance with the procedure shall be monitored as given below. Biannual, we will be doing the biannual audits, and there will be team of people will be visiting that. 1 member from the health and environment team, and as well as the asset directorate team, as well as the superintendent of contract. There is a separate checklist, or the process is provided in the Annexure 2, which I am going to briefly talk about that. And there will be some leadership visits as well as site verification visits. During that time, all these welfare procedures will be monitored. And training and awareness, contractors and subcontractors shall conduct periodical awareness campaigns and welfare measures. And as per the GE 28, which is a training and awareness and continuous learning process. So we have a detailed matrix. So I recommend you to refer to KOC GE 28. Please, if you don't have access to this document, please leave your message in the chat box. We can always send you again. And these are some of the reference documents you need to see while preparing this document, this particular procedure. We have a G001 KOC Health Safety Environment Manual, and of course the class of the general conditions of the contract. We have been again and again referred to the coitization guidance document. You need to refer that. Project HSE plan, and 38 project HSE planning and well delivery projects. This particular procedure talks about during the planning stage of the well itself. So everything will be incorporated in that. And there is a personal protective equipment, first aid procedure, again the occupational health and medical surveillance procedure, and procedure for preventive measures for infection and due to corona virus, which is the latest procedure on the COVID-19, HE28 and HE29. And KOC concern report on the contractor's performance, that is also quarterly basis, it is being sent. And HSE plan and HSE performance reports. Again, the international requirements like International Labour Organization, R102, welfare facilities recommendations, IFCP standard 2, which Mishra was briefing in detail. And Annexure 1 is where I'm going to refer to that checklist and flow chart on the monitoring review. So these are some of the abbreviations and records. Also, you need to maintain the records of all the pre-qualification records or the welfare procedures and other things. So these have to be maintained, and KOC superintendent of contracts also will maintain the records. Again, the review and revision of the log. So every procedure is being updated as and when required, depending on the situation, depending on the new requirements. Those listing also is here. So with that, I just want to show you the Annexure 1, which talks about the checklist of employee welfare requirements for KOC contractors. Basically, it is done by the superintendent of contract, contractor name, date, contractor name, project control, contractor employees, employee welfare, and written HSE plans, contractor welfare measures including the plan. Contractor has provided workers with documented information. So everything will be, these things will be checked. The records of recruitment are available. No fees is charged by the contractor for recruitment. Wages, contractor has documented working hours, rotation and rest policy. Contractor has a system in place for providing leaves to its personnel, tracking mechanism, all these things will be checked during the biannual audits. So provided accommodation for its personnel, provided facilities for hygienic food, and contractor has system for periodic medical examinations, his system for medical insurance. All these things will be checked. There are a detailed checklist, whatever we briefed now, everything will be covered in this checklist, So these are the information will be collected from the respective contractors and subcontractors on biannual audits, and superintendent of contract will be conducting this audit, will be accompanied by the HSE group as well as the asset HSE team. So again, this is the final annexure of this procedure, contractor welfare monitoring compliance, the flow chart, basically whether once the project HSE plan is complied with the welfare requirements, then there will be biannual audits will be conducted. Once the report is submitted, annual verification by the KOC joint team will be there. Then the report is submitted to the manager HSE with respect to the manager contracts as a confidential report. Then HSE group to maintain a consolidated reports for the KPC, which is a Kuwait Petroleum Corporation, audits and verifications. So with that, we just want to conclude this session. But again, we have a author of the procedure, team leader, health and environment representative, Dr. Rao. Dr. Rao, would you like to brief anything else before we open it for the discussion?
Hello.
Hello. Yes, go ahead, Dr. Rao.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Mr. Ashok and Ved, thank you very much for the excellent presentation on the contractor welfare procedure. I really appreciate the initiatives of the D&T team to make all the business partners aware on this important procedure. I hope everybody has they have an idea pertaining to the requirements under this procedure. Earlier, it was different, the procedure, but now the latest revision, as it is mentioned, it is based on the recommendations of the KPC and the International Finance Corporation performance standards. And over and above all these things, one very important issue is that we should really appreciate the efforts of our KOC manager contracts, who has really gone through each and every single word of the procedure, and he has given his valuable comments on this, and all the comments have been incorporated in this procedure. So now with this brief, now I would like to just give some important points on this, in addition to what Mr. Ved Prakash Mishra and Mr. Ashok has shared with you as far as the procedure is concerned. First thing is, the contractor welfare is now considered at a very top priority, both at the KPC level and also our management level, because there are certain issues which the KPC has, the higher committee in the KPC, they have studied pertaining to the contractor welfare. And based on the recommendations of the higher committee study, they have given some conclusions. Those conclusions and recommendations have been put in this procedure. Now, the second part is there is a mandate that the requirements of this procedure, they are made part of the pre-qualification of the contractors, as it is mentioned in the one of the roles and responsibilities. So we have already communicated to the HSE systems team, and they are taking all the required action for incorporating this in the pre-qualification questionnaire, which is there for the contractors of the KOC. And this is also one of the important recommendations given by KPC. So the contractors will be evaluated in the pre-qualification stage itself before they get registered for the contracts. That is the second part. Then the third part is, as far as the respective business partners and your organizations are required, the implementation is very, very, very crucial. Now, please, I request all the business partners who are available in this awareness session, kindly go through each one of the points which Mr. Ashok has right now explained to you, and whatever is the evidence of implementation that is required for each and every clause under the section 5 of this procedure. Please try to generate the evidences and make them available. This is very, very important. And all documentation should be maintained in such a way so as to uh, aid the internal audits and also the external audits by the KPC and the International Finance Corporation requirements. So please try to identify, if for example, if you take the 5.1, the HR policy, where a simple one is that a handbook, bilingual handbook. So that type of a record should be available. Suppose they ask the evidence for not charging anything from the employee for the purpose of recruitment, then you need to show. Now, another very important thing like this, please try to generate the required evidences and then try to keep all these recommended the evidences with you in order to show that you are totally complying with the procedure. Now, from the management side, I believe any shortfalls in this will be taken on a serious note. This is what, because we have communicated also to the contracts and the commercial support groups. The commercial support groups we have communicated the required clauses in the general conditions of the contracts, and they are handling it, and they will be included in the general conditions very, very soon. Then the next part of this is the important one is there is a very high level of stress on two issues. All the points requirements are important, but as we see from the lot of communication and meetings going on over the last so many months, that the two issues are the worker accommodation and the mental health status of the workers. So, in fact, the one of the recommendations from the local consultants was to have a monthly inspection of the worker accommodation. But I think that is beyond the feasibility point. So we have included that as part of the checklist. But kindly ensure all the contractors and the business partners, whatever accommodations you are providing to the employees, they are meeting these minimum standards. These standards are directly taken from the Kuwait Ministry of Social Affairs law. And these are the minimum which we have to implement. So that is the first thing. Second thing is the mental health status of the worker. That is how to combat the stress among the employees in your contractual organization. So for that purpose, there is a requirement that the mental health assessment has to be conducted, and you have to maintain the records. So the mental health assessment needs to be done by a qualified and trained, the qualified psychologist. And those records are to be maintained in a confidential way. That is the first thing. In case you find anybody who is abnormal, then necessary counseling sessions, or if necessary, some treatment sessions have to be undertaken. Now, another important point under the stress management part is the awareness on the stress. So already this has been communicated to all the business partners through respective HSE teams that they have to organize internally some stress management sessions. They have to organize the sessions on stress, how to combat the stress. And I believe I can, in this context, I will definitely refer to the initiatives, to the best practice that is being taken care of, that is being undertaken by the HSE gas team. I hope, I think Mr. Ashok, you also might have received the communication from that. Yeah. So the HSE gas team has done a lot in this. I should really appreciate the team. They have done a survey, not only for the employees, but also for the contractors. They have generated a report. Then they have organize the awareness sessions on the stress management and the initiatives. I think they can be taken up as one of the best practices and can be implemented by other HSE teams. So please concentrate on these issues. All the necessary requirements for incorporation of these requirements in the general conditions of the contracts are being taken care of, and at every level the monitoring will be there. So these are my what you call my suggestions in this regard for all the business partners, and please try to ensure that every paper you hold in a very methodical way in order to ensure compliance with this procedure. Okay.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for your
Thank you.
Final touch inputs, and I'm sure we will also do the needful with stress management.
Sure. Okay.
And I just want to, before we go to the session 2, I would like to open it for the discussion. If you have any clarifications related to the welfare procedures, you can raise your hand and open your mic and ask the question. You can also type in the chat box. Before we have a 10 minutes break, but we would like to open it for the discussion or the clarification or the any issues related to the welfare procedure. So you're welcome to do that.
I just want to add here.
Yes, Mr.
That as we heard from Dr. Rao, that now how KOC management have taken this at a different level actually, the contractor employees welfare. And we also know that the human resource is the most important resource for any organization, to become successful. So definitely it looks like that there are a lot of requirements are there. But once we start taking care of this resource actually, then we can definitely bring the best out of them. And that will not only our quality of the work, even the HSE and everything, we can see that drastically it will change actually.
Yes.
So we should see this procedure in that respect, that spirit. Definitely there are a lot of requirements, but we are here to help our business partner at each and every step to work together on this jointly, and we can improve the situation overall. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mishra. And of course, if we do not have any comments or any questions, we will break it for 10 minutes and we'll be back by 11:05. And Mr. Reddy is going to brief us on another important procedure, which is KOC HE 007. So in the meanwhile, you can keep collecting your any questions or clarifications related to this procedure and put in the chat box. We'll be back by 11:05. Thank you. Kuwait time 11:05.
Thank you.